Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar tonight. I'm absolutely delighted that you're all able to join us because I think it will be a really special one tonight. My name is Eva Maclaine, and I'm obviously with CIPR International. We're organising this webinar. And just to let you know, I think you heard that we are recording this so that it'll be available to other people as well. So for months now, we have been gripped and appalled in equal measure by the war that Russia launched on Ukraine. But although it's geographically quite close to us and close enough for us to identify with the Ukrainian suffering, it's still very much different actually being on the ground, living through the missiles, the relentless shelling, and the now Iranian drones, and also then running a successful PR agency throughout it all. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our keynote speaker tonight, Kristina Nikolayeva, Managing Director of BIT Agency, which is based in Kyiv, and more of her in a minute. But the reason I actually know Kristina, know of her, is through Rebecca. We were approached by Lansons, our long-term partner and supporter, I'm delighted to say, telling us that they'd been to a public relations organisation international, PROI for short, quite a mouthful, to a meeting with them. And there they'd heard an absolutely inspirational young woman talking about running an agency in war-torn Ukraine. And that's the reason why we're joined here tonight by Rebecca, whom I'm also delighted to welcome. And she is Joint Managing Director and Partner of Lansons, and also PROI Worldwide Board Director and EMEA Co-Chair. She is also, I'm delighted to say, a CIPR member. Well done. So Rebecca is an international consultant with 20 years experience, advising clients from public, private, and not-for-profit sectors. She has worked on a wide range of business issues, from complex corporate and change communications through to market-leading brand building and purpose-led campaigns. So first, let's hear from Rebecca. Rebecca, over to you.
Thank you, Eva, and thank you, everybody. Welcome, everybody. First of all, a big thank you to Eva and the CIPR International Group for hosting today's session. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the PROI because that sets the context for Kristina's presentation. The PROI, for those of you that don't know, is a network of around 80 different agencies from across the world in about 160 cities, 60 countries. And it is the home of what we call the leading independent agencies. So it's full of incredibly charismatic, extraordinary business leaders running agencies in multiple markets around the world. And twice a year, we get together. One is a global summit where all of the partners within the network join, and one is a regional summit, so APAC, the Americas, and EMEA. This year was the first connecting of the global members of everybody in the PROI post-COVID. So it was an extraordinary meeting anyway to reconnect with partners and with leaders and with entrepreneurs from multiple agencies from multiple markets. It was in Dubrovnik, and it was especially special because we were also welcoming 2 or 3 new partners to the partnership. And when Kristina got up as our new Ukrainian partner, clearly we were all in May unbelievably fascinated, engaged to find out what had happened since the war had begun in February. What we actually heard from Kristina was an extraordinary story, what it was like to lead, to communicate, to prepare her people, her clients in such an extraordinary environment, and to lead that agency and those people through the war. We were very inspired by it. So I'm going to hand back over to Eva to introduce Kristina to you, but I'm sure you will be too.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Could I remind you that if you have any questions of either Rebecca or of Kristina later on, then do please put them into the chat and we'll have a look at them when we finish the presentations. So now to Kristina. A quick overview of her background. She has over 16 years experience of agency, corporate and government experience, having started her career in an international comms agency in Ukraine. She then worked as head of comms in Allianz Ukraine, a member of the Allianz Group, obviously the financial and insurance services provider. In 2015, she joined the Ministry of Infrastructure as an advisor to the Minister and Head of Communications to build the communications function and to provide support to the ministry, communications support to the ministry. So as MD of BIT, she has led dozens of projects for the public sector and for leading multinationals and local companies. And currently, she's also studying for an MBA in Edinburgh. So if any of our Scottish members are in Edinburgh, I'm sure Kristina would love to hook up with you. So now we will hear about her and her team's experiences as they unfolded after that fateful day of February the 24th, earlier this year. Kristina.
Thank you, Eva. Good evening, everyone. Well, not for everyone, maybe an evening, but hello, everyone. I will share my slides because I have some slides for you. And first of all, I would like to thank you all for being interested in what we have to say as Ukrainians and being interested in what is happening in Ukraine. It is very important for us to know that we are not alone, and we value every question and every sign of support you can offer to any of us in our country as a whole. So before I start talking about war itself, let me introduce in brief the agency for you to know who we are. So we are communication agency with public relations and earned media at the heart of everything we do. And BIT is 18 years old, but actually in December, we will be celebrating our 19th anniversary. We unite around 40 talents, and we are proud to have a mission to create the reality we want to live in, meaning that we try to work with companies and with partners who really strive to become better versions of themselves. So you can see some of the names of our clients on this slide. We mostly work with corporate business, but also we sometimes work with international organizations and even government. We have 4 major communication departments: so corporate, lifestyle, consumer, tech, and entertainment communications, but also content creation lab. It is a department where all our creative team members sit, headed by the creative director, so we are able to produce our own unique ideas and offer them to our clients. These are some of our expertise areas, and what is also important is that we are part of the group, one philosophy group of companies. We have 4 sister agencies. 2 of them are communication consultancies, as we are. So One Health is obviously dealing with health and social impact projects, and Republic with public affairs, but we also have Changers as a leadership and talent development consultancy, and Solution for People as an agency that creates human-centered and human-friendly brands. And our group was several times recognized as the best CIS consultancy by Holmes Report, by Provoke now, but also once as best consultancy, but best continental consultancy to work for. And what is also like funny, interesting is that when the COVID-19 pandemic started, we started to explore resilience topic, because at that time COVID seemed one of the major challenges for the world and for us as business. So we launched and conducted the first research of the resilience of Ukrainian business, and based on this research and based on the report after this research, we developed our proprietary methodology called Resilience Radar that helps to assess whether your company, your business is ready for the unpredictable challenges of the future. And it is really funny that at that time we saw that COVID was the major challenge we would face this decade or maybe through our lives. But then the war started. And this is where I proceed with the slide that is called Plan B. And why Plan B? Because when I look back, 2021 was really great year for our business and for our agency. But actually, at the end of the year, All the narratives in media and all the business talks and government talks were full of invasion narratives and threats that come up. And this is why we started to live according to two plans. So we had plan A, where everything is fine and we do our business as usual, and plan B, where we try to prepare to something that I can say for sure no one wants to be prepared to. So there are some of the things that we started doing at the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. And it is strange to see how your business actually starts doing a bit different role and how you start sending a bit different messages that you usually send to your team and your employees. So we started with gathering emergency contacts, well, updating the contacts of all our employees, but also asking to add to the contact base some emergency contacts of their close relatives or friends in case we will not have any connection with the employees. We created a map of bomb shelters that were nearest to our office, just in case the shelling will start when people are in the office, for them to know where to go to. We bought escape backpacks and we bought first aid kits, again, in case people were in the office when the bombing starts, so that they could take them and like proceed to the bomb shelters and be safe. We also asked our team to talk to their families and discuss what they would do if the invasion started. So would they stay in Kiev? Would they leave? If leave, to where? To Western Ukraine or abroad? Do they have someone to stay with when they flee? And for those who had no one to go to, we also rented extra property in the western part of the country, like for people to have some place to stay for some time and be sure that you won't be homeless. We tried to provide some mental health and mental support, because the pressure of just expecting the worst is sometimes even more difficult. Because, you know, I'm living here in Scotland for 2 months, and I can say for sure that I felt more confident and more safe and mentally safe when I was in Ukraine. I never left Ukraine when the war started until I moved to Scotland in September. And it is like when you are expecting something and when you are not in the situation, it may be very present. So yeah, we try to support our employees in a certain way. So, and of course, all different memos. Again, being a managing director of the communication agency, I'm not used to send memos on what to do when the shelling started, or how to make your home more safe in case of bombing. So the rules of 2 walls and all these different things. And also, of course, we shared these plans and these memos and what we're doing inside of the company with our clients, and consulting them on their crisis management plans. And then the war started. And I can say that, well, from the operational point of view, we were like, I think we've done a good job in terms of like preparing the company and the team to the war. But of course, you cannot prepare to say goodbye to your life as you know and love and enjoy it. And the February 24th changed everything. I'm a very rational person, actually, but I do remember that the first thing that I did when I woke up and got up from my bed was to go and to fill my bathtub with water and then do all the laundry in the house, just in case we are cut off the water and I know that all my laundry is clean. So I will share some of the pictures of the first days of war of mine and from my team, just to maybe show a bit of reality we lived in. So this is the windows of my apartment of the first day of war. When we heard bombing, we started like securing our windows, such a snowflake. And I do remember that at first, my husband and I, we didn't plan to flee Kyiv, because I remember this conversation with my husband very clearly, and he was like, who's gonna bomb Kyiv? Who's gonna attack Kyiv? It's ridiculous. And then on the second day of war, there were combats on our street, so we were able to see it from our windows. And actually, my district of the city is where some local guys managed to take over an armored vehicle of Russian army. So it became like we were able to see when all the block posts were built. So it became really tense, and we decided to go to the western part of the country. But this is a picture from the bomb shelter near my apartment. It was just basement of a neighbor building. People trying to like cope with the new reality, dark and friendly, but unfriendly at the same time. This is how the traffic jam looked on the first and the second day of war, when people tried to flee Kyiv. And actually 2.5 weeks after we left, our district was shelled, and this is the picture of the house, apartment building that is 600 meters away from mine. And I do understand, and I think every one of us understand that while I, for example, had a place to go to in 2 months after when I came back to Kyiv, when there was no more like direct invasion threat for Kyiv. I do understand that there were people who were less lucky and who had no place to go to anymore. And what is also strange, when I was leaving my home, one of the things I took with me was my national costume, my vyshyvanka. And the reason I was taking it with me, I know that a lot of people, when they were fleeing, they took their vyshyvankas with them. But like some of them were saying, okay, because we had to have it with us to wear it when we will be celebrating our victory. And I took mine because I do remember this very clearly. I saw that in case they invade Kyiv, that they will be going in all the apartments, and they will enter our apartment, and then they will not find my national costume there, and they will not be able to spoil it or to harm it in any way. So I can't explain any of it to myself in full, but it was important for me to protect this particular thing of me as a symbol of me being Ukrainian. This is a photograph of our tech and entertainment communication practice lead, and she had to work, sleep, eat, and live in the hallway of near her apartment, because she lives near the military object, and her district was bombed heavily. And this is she lying on the floor with the laptop on her lap, because the work never stopped, even maybe probably on the first day, but starting from the second day, we were doing everything we had to do and everything we could do to support our clients and our country and our employees, of course, because we were always in contact with each other. And this is huge to donate blood for the army and for the territorial defense. And this is also Dasha's photograph when she was in Kyiv donating blood. This is another colleague of ours, our finance manager, Natalia. For more than a month, her basement was her home and her office. She couldn't flee Kyiv because of the job of her husband. So she spent more than a month like this. very warm dressed, but still trying to remain positive despite of everything. And this is our colleague and our business development director who sent his family to Poland and went to the military registration office after that in Lviv. And this is the photograph of a queue to this military registration office. And just for you to understand that a lot of people were there in the first days of war just because they felt they had to, not because someone called them. But I think, I don't know whether you ever felt helpless in your life. If I did, it was during these 12 days when we lost connection with our colleague from accounting. Her name is Vasilina. Vasilina lives with her sister and with her mother who cannot walk, and they live in Kyiv suburbs, in a small village in Kyiv suburbs called Vorzel. I'm pretty sure you don't know about Vorzel, but I'm sure that you know and heard about Bucha and about Irpin. And Vorzel is 8 kilometers from Bucha and 11 kilometers from Irpin, meaning that they were heavily shelled from the first day of war, that the Russian army was there like from the first day of war, and that they were occupied by the Russian army very, very soon. The last post of Vasilina on Facebook was on 2nd of March, and it was the last day when she responded to my "How are you?" message. And she never responded on the next day and on the day after that. And we tried to reach her, but her phone there was no connection. We tried to reach her sister's phone, her mother's phone, but again, we were unlucky. And this is where we started working really hard and inventing really hard some different ideas how to connect her. So we were searching for people from the same village on Facebook, trying to identify when they connected and if they connected to Facebook like after Vasilina. So we were hoping that they still have connection. We were trying to write and to ask whether they can go and find her. Unfortunately, no one responded. We knew that there was no electricity already, and we knew that they were experiencing a lot of connection, mobile network connection problems, because military was like destroying or somehow suppressing the signal. So when we had no connection with them for 6 days, I think our colleagues like digged through the Facebook many years of different contexts to find distant relatives of Vasilina from another part of Ukraine. And this is how we found out that they are alive and that they are online just once a day, very early in the morning. And when they call to another relative just to say that they are alive, this is how we actually connected to this relative and asked Vasilina to call me. And the connection was established, and we found out that they cannot flee, they cannot evacuate, despite there were evacuation routes and there were evacuation buses from their village. But the stop of these buses, the only point they were leaving from, was 1.5 kilometers from their apartment. And when you think 1.5 kilometers is nothing, but for their mother, who can't walk, she just couldn't make it at all. And they had no wheelchair or any other means of transport to go through this 1.5 kilometers and to evacuate from the city. So they were sitting in the basement of their apartment without electricity, without heating, without water, because all the utilities were like cut off. And they didn't know what to do. And this is when we started to contact local deputies, patrol police, military, volunteers, who posted on Facebook and all social networks asking for someone to help. And when the village is occupied, you cannot just go there or go from there. These evacuation routes are approved by everyone and by the enemy as well. So if you deviate, they can easily like shoot you or your car. And it's just very, very risky. And we were unsuccessful and unlucky every day. So every other day we knew that there would be an evacuation route. But unfortunately, we couldn't find anyone, and their neighbors fled by that time. So no one could even like carry their mother to the buses to leave the city. And then one day, there was a volunteer who just, I don't know how he managed to do it, but with his car, he came to the village, came to their house, and actually took them from there. And I think it was the day when good half of our team were crying in 8 different countries of Europe and many Ukrainian cities, because it was such a relief to know that they are finally safe. And they were calling me from the block post, from the control point of Ukrainian army already. And they were also like crying and just so relieved. And we are still very, very grateful. It feels like a miracle, but we are grateful that this miracle happened to us, because it was like 12 darkest days of our existence, when you at first you don't know whether your colleague is alive, and then you know that they are alive, but you just don't know how to help. And we people from communications, I'm pretty sure that you feel the same. Usually there is nothing impossible for us. We know how to resolve any situation. And this was very different feeling when you don't know what to do and don't know how to help. And I hope to never feel it again. And this is our other colleague. And I added this photograph just to show how the war can change us all, and how we all can grow up in one day or 1 hour. This is our 23 years old colleague. She married this year. Both her husband and her father are military. So for her wedding gift, she asked to donate money to charity that supports army. And this is something that our colleagues and many Ukrainians do every day. So from the business perspective, what changed for us, and what were our lessons learned? First of all, when you're at war, the thing you need to carry about is continuity of your operations. So I was telling you about Vasilina when she went missing, and she's one of our accounting team. At the same time, our another accountant was under heavy shelling. She was online, but there was a great probability that something happened, and if something happened, we were not able to pay salaries to the rest of the team. Like 40 people would just stay without any means for existence. And this is why we did something that usually no one does. I think we were given all of the credentials to our financial systems to the accountants from other companies, just to be sure that if something happens and we lose connection with our financial team, there will be people who will be able to log into systems and make all necessary transactions for the rest of the team stay supported and stay financially supported. The other thing is obviously mental health, because I thought that the COVID-19 pandemic was a challenge for mental health and for relationship in the company. But in fact, I think that because of war, I pretty much got reacquainted with our team once again. So to my mind, the war divided us into three categories. The first one were people who could not think or do anything else apart survival of their families. And there were several colleagues who just completely fell apart and were not able to work at all. The second group was a group that focused primarily on volunteering, so they were able to work, but it was no longer a priority. They felt that if they are not like donating blood, helping territorial defense, or doing something with their hands, that it wasn't relevant enough in this situation. And so the productivity and the mental ability of these people to be devoted to some work task, of course, it was completely different compared to what it was before. And I can say that at some points, I even found myself Googling how to become a sniper, because at that point, it felt to me that probably if I am prepared enough to protect my country and my people, it would be better than being just a communicator. But of course, being responsible for a big team, I put this idea off and came back to the business. Sorry, especially considering that with the beginning of war, we lost like immediately 70% of our business. We had 20 clients at the 23rd of February, and only 3 of them continued working on the 24th and further on. So we had to figure out what to do with our workload, with our team, and how to actually support our people further. And one of the strangest things I had to do as a managing director of a communication agency, and as a person who knows that it is so difficult to find the right people and to train these right people, but many of me and my other colleagues from the leadership team, we were kind of part-time recruiters looking for job opportunities for some of our employees who were the only breadwinners, but by that time in their families. So having stable earnings were super important for them. So we were connecting international agencies to find some postings for them. Sorry. Sorry. And of course, it is difficult to lose part of your team, but at the same time, I think it was beneficial for the rest of the team and important for them to see that we will stand by them no matter what. And then we will act in their best interest no matter what. So what do we have now? They say that by the end of this year, Ukraine will lose 45% of our GDP. And inflation and unemployment will vice versa reach 30%. But at the same time, Ukrainians are demonstrating very high levels of resilience and high levels of trust to each other, the highest actually. During this year, the level of trust grew like immensely. And we gathered some secrets of our resilience. So the first one is probably acceptance of reality. It's been 2 months since I'm in Scotland, but at the same time, I still remain connected to the leadership chat of our group. And it was funny to watch how my colleagues are discussing what to do in case of nuclear bombing and whether they will be able to restore internet connection, not to let down our clients who really depend on our internet connection and our ability to accomplish critical tasks. Not about whether they will survive, but whether our team will have internet connection after nuclear bombing. And this is how our people actually started, got used to live with the idea that every day may be the last one. But somehow it's not a greatest problem anymore. Sorry. So the second thing is reliance on values. I do think that probably now the whole world knows that freedom is the basic value of Ukraine and Ukrainians, and we live to this and many other values every day. We're also building partnership and really rely on optimism and sense of humor, and I will show you some of this. So this is Kyiv, and I wanted to show you this. These pictures are were taken in August, I think. Because when you see, and I'm pretty sure when you see pictures of Ukraine now, these are pictures of devastation and demolition, but this is how our city and our country actually looks and may look when everything is fine. And this is what we're fighting for, and this is what inspires us to remain strong and to live through all this. And for me, this particular photo is a great illustration of Ukrainian resilience, because this is a blog post near my apartment. It was created in February, so people just took bags and filled them with soil to create a blog post for tanks or armored vehicles not to pass through these routes. And in summer, these bags became bushes and grass without any further help or interference from anyone. And this is all about Ukraine. So we will prevail no matter what, and even our land, our soil is able to demonstrate it. And this is also Kyiv after the heavy shelling that happened after the explosion on the Crimea bridge. This is how Russia tried to revenge. But this is Kyiv on October 10th was the huge hole, and October 11th, when our utility services actually fixed it for the city and for the citizens, just to show that we're able to do it again and again, no matter how heavily or how often we're being shelled, we will rebuild and we will prevail. And this is very much about partnerships and about trust and about trusting in each other, because this is a bag with all the necessities for a person who can be stuck in the elevator because Russians are destroying our energy system right now. So all people through all the country, they are experiencing blackouts all the time. So this was just made by someone, so no particular person responsible for this, but just neighbors taking care of their neighbors and leaving some water, some food, some snacks, some warm stuff to be able to wait for elevator to restart, just in case you were caught there in during blackout. And this is very much about values again, and about being human to each other. And I'm pretty sure that all of you know about Ukrainian humor and Ukrainian sense of optimism, and this is something I like really much, because it is actually real announcements and real addresses from the Ukrainian governments to the Ukrainian citizens. On the 24th of February, when the main message was, please don't panic, don't spread fake news, don't make traffic jams, and please let our military to do their job. And on the 17th of October, the main message was, please do not try to shoot down Iranian drones yourself. And this is because now a lot of people have weapons, because they were armed to protect their cities. And in Kyiv, for example, we have a lot of skyscrapers, so people are just trying to help our military and to shoot down these drones themselves, which is probably counterintuitive thing to do. But at the same time, I'm still being surprised, like almost every day, with new ideas and new solutions our people come up with. And I'm really grateful that there are a lot of people who make this known to everyone and who make a lot of jokes out of it, because I think that during the first weeks of war, we were living on jokes and funny pictures and funny songs and verses that were created, and we supported each other with all of this. And like this phase in our joint strengths and our future victory, I think this is something that really adds to our resilience and to our ability to live through the events, sometimes awful, terrible events that happened during this war. But at the same time, I mean, I think that every one of us has already lost someone, close or not that close, but we have known someone who is not alive anymore. And it's, from one point of view, it's very painful. From another point of view, it just gives you more strength and more reasons to continue, because every person that is not with us, it would be a betrayal towards them to just stop and to give up right now. And one more thing we've done for resilience now as a team, as a business, was launching on a volunteering projects, because as I said, we lost a great part of our business like in one day, but at the same time we knew that as communicators we have something to say and to do, and that as business we had to give purpose to our people. So one of the projects we launched was We Are Ukraine. It is a repository of truth, and the idea of the project and the first meeting on this project happened at noon on the first day of war, because we knew that the prerequisite of war was fake narrative of Putin and Russia, that Ukrainians were not a real nation, and a nation, and our language was not a real language. And we knew that there would be a lot of lies about this war from the Russian side. So we decided to create a platform where we would gather information about this war and turn it into simple, easy to digest visual facts and share them with the world, so that the world could share it as well, and so the truth was widely known. And these are the examples how an editorial team gathers facts on different topics, like the war itself, international support, Ukraine's resilience, etc., and creates visuals out of this and shares it with the readers. We have, like every day, we have people approximately from 60 countries joining the site and sharing this information. Again, another example. So now more than 4.5 million Ukrainians have no access to electricity due to Russian attacks. This is about the blackouts I mentioned. Or, for example, we have the great news from previous week about the about Kherson and Ukrainian army being in Kherson. So both in Kherson and in Kharkiv, there are stories about people burning their flags while they were under occupation of the Russian army, just to be sure that they preserve their flags and that they will be able to have them back when we prevail. Again, it is about faith. One more thing that that Ukraine does is dispelling Russian myths. So, for example, why Russia and Ukraine are not brothers and are not one people and the same people. And this particular piece of content was shared on Instagram more than 30,000 times. So this is how we actually, as communicators, we help to communicate what is important. Another project within We Are Ukraine is called Business for Ukraine, and this is where we try to persuade multinational corporations to leave Russian market. And this is where I think we as communicators have our say every time, because more and more it is said that business is about purpose and values and principles, and working for an aggressor, working in aggressor's country and helping them to collect taxes which finance the war, I think it wouldn't correlate with many of the purposes of most companies in the world. So we do understand, and it was not an easy decision for us as well, because as I told at the very beginning, we worked with many multinational companies. Some of them left the market immediately. Some of them decided not to leave, and it was our decision not to continue working with them, because as Ukrainians, we just cannot. And we understand that any right decision comes at a price, be it decision to reduce plastic waste in your production facilities, or be it decision to not to work with partners who engage child labor. It comes at a cost. And the same is with leaving the Russian market. But at the same time, we really try to convey that Russia is not an aggressor towards Ukraine only. And if you know the history, you will acknowledge that it is true. Russia is an aggressor, full stop. And they won't stop in Ukraine, or they won't stop if they just grab part of Ukraine, because it happened already to us in 2014. They took Crimea, they took part of Donbas region, but it didn't prevent them from full-scale invasions this February. And this is why we think that like conscious business and business who truly believes in purpose and in values and greater good for the society should be able to leave the market and the country where 80% of population actually supports the current president and the government, just to show which side they are on. And this is actually the end of the slides, and I will be ready to answer your questions. But before, I wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you, because you're interested, to your countries, for all the support that you provided to Ukraine, military support, economic support, hosting our refugees all over the world. It is very important. If you find yourself, which I hope you now will, in a situation when your home country is at war, what saves you and your sanity is just an understanding that you are not alone at the moment, and it gives you hope and warms your heart, and it makes you stand, and it makes you braver. So I do thank you to every country and every person who just were able to say something nice to a person from Ukraine who needed these nice words at that particular moment. I do believe that our victory will be for the benefit of the whole world, of the whole world system, and you standing with us have your part in this victory, because yeah, it's in a way that we do not have all the resources to be able to win this war on our own. I don't know if any country has all the resources needed to put this war to an end, but we are ready to provide like our courage and our lives to make it happen with your help, and we are very grateful for this help. Thank you.
Kristina, thank you very much. It's difficult not to sound trite after your presentation, which was so moving and interesting, of course, but very moving. Thank you so much. That's really wonderful. Can you put your questions into the Q&A, because I don't think that, I think the chat's been disabled, somebody told me, so apologies for that, but do put your questions in there. We have a question from our chair, Samantha Siwasoren, who's actually based in Mauritius, but she says that she worked in crisis comms in Kyiv for Bunga, Ukraine, I don't know how you pronounce it, which produces Olena sunflower oil. With the Ukrainian government sending out a strong and defiant message to the world in the face of aggression, how did you reflect or align with this in your own client communications? So was there any formal collaboration between the government and private sectors on communication?
Yeah, so it's not a difficult question, but at the moment I'm thinking of all of our clients and what was done, so it's difficult to choose from where to start. I should say that, yeah, the same as many our people did. I mean, trying to find their place in this war and trying to find how they can help and how can they be of use. The same happened to many companies. So, for example, MasterCard, they partnered with the Ukrainian government and with the Ukrainian Ministry of digital transformation to support business, to support small and medium businesses. They opened an entrepreneurship center in Poland for businesses who moved out of the country and people who moved out of the country. And so in this particular project, they became a government's partner to help small businesses survive through this war and be like more resilient abroad or elsewhere in Ukraine where they were situated, where they moved their businesses. And and other businesses did as well. So I think that almost all of our clients had small projects in different spheres where government needed them. So it was not like a huge initiatives, but many were doing many things, many small things to covering what had to be covered at this particular moment, because obviously, and of course, government, even in peaceful time, government is not able to deal with everything. And this is why we speak more and more about the growing role of businesses for the benefit of society. The same when you're at war.
Lovely, thanks. Another question we have from Shirley Collier. You said that you lost 70% of your clients overnight. Can you tell us what you're doing for the clients that remain?
Yes, sure. Mostly it's a mix of services, but it's reputation management and its communication supports of the project they were doing for the benefit of the country and of the people. So all of our product communication projects were stopped because somehow no one is interested in hair dryers when the war started. But the projects like the one I mentioned was MasterCard, or for example, another client of ours, Classified, OLX, they were supporting small business, and they were providing some financing to small businesses to promote their business and to be able to sell more goods and to be able to tell why they are important. And we were providing communication support to projects like this, like helping to push it through the overall narrative of war, and to make sure that people they know that should know it, and partners that should know it, this project.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. One from me. I was just wondering, I mean, you had so many challenges, and, you know, we talk about resilience here, but really, I think the sort of resilience that we showed is a fraction of what you've had to endure in the past year. And so I wondered really what you felt your greatest challenge was during that time.
I'm bad at ranking things, let's say. Well, my personal, like as a person, my greatest challenge was in this situation was Vasilina that I mentioned. So I couldn't imagine to lose a colleague. And it was something, because when you're losing business, well, it's of course it's sad and bitter, but this is something you can work on. If you lose a friend, a person, nothing can be reversed. So like, and I'm not a person who used to feel helpless, as I mentioned, and that was a situation when I felt completely helpless, being able to reach anyone I need, but still being unable to change anything. Yeah, but and from the business perspective, like as a business person, I should say that at first I had some struggle with being able to to remain a leader who needs to set a tone and to cheer my team up, and to and I'm grateful to my team that they came to me and said, come on, it's time for you to do something so that we gather ourselves together. And I was, okay, come on, it's time for me to do it. And this is how I retook on my role as a leader for my leadership team and for the rest of the company. But at first I felt disorienting, because I wasn't sure again. So I had a feeling that maybe I would be more useful with weapons in my arms, and
The sniper.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a good shooter. So this is why I consider this development for my future career. But yeah, obviously when you are responsible for a big team, 40 people is a big team. I had to like put myself together and start doing what I'm supposed to do.
We have very little time left, but we can actually run on a little bit, and we've got some really good questions, which I'd really quite like you to answer and to deal with them before we go. I don't think we'll have time for, if we run on, then we can deal with these three, but I hope you'll forgive us all, everybody else at the webinar, if we can't answer all your questions. I'm going to take the next three, and then I think we'll have to stop. And if you obviously have to go, I'm sorry, that I quite understand that. So the next question is from Donald Steele, who's a great friend of mine. He says, Kristina, I don't think I've ever heard a presentation like that. Thank you so much. President Zelensky has shown the power of PR in foreign affairs. When the war is over, how important will PR be in rebuilding Ukraine internally?
I think it will be very important because I was having a conversation with my cohort recently, and my British colleague said that he is so unfortunate because every time he votes for something, this party loses. And I started joking and said, every time I vote for someone, they either win or we make a revolution to for them to win. But of course, the downside of it is that at some point you may find yourself at war with a neighbor who is 2.5 times bigger than you are. And why I was saying that, I think that Ukraine demonstrated outstanding unity and outstanding trust in each other, but at the same time, I understand when the war is over, there will be some drawback to the usual state of things. We will have to come back to our previous challenges, to our challenges of corruption, of our challenges of having different values and having different views on different things. And communications, to my mind, will be important to remind ourselves about the values we were fighting for and about people who gave their lives for us to have and to live up to these values. And this is why, to remain on track during this rebuilding, communication about everything that happened and about the future we were fighting for will be a very important job of ours.
Excellent. Okay, the next one is from Pamela Bailey, who says, which elements, if any, of your existing crisis management plans and preparations proved able to be put to use practically once the war started?
I think most of them. So like bombing in Kiev continues. So knowing where the bomb shelters are, and this map of bomb shelters is useful. We used this property in western part of Ukraine, so some of our employees were able to stay there with their families. Contact base, so contact details of our employees. If we hadn't do it, we wouldn't know the phone of Vasilina's sister to reach her. So many, I think almost all of it were useful at some point, and we continue reminding of it. So from time to time, we send these messages about how to behave during shelling, what should be on your first aid kit, and things like that. We just continue reminding them. And for example, now it's a lot about electricity, so we are buying some power banks and some other devices. I have no idea how to say it in English, the names of all this, to be able to provide like ability to work for people who need to be online due to their work, and to remind people what to do in case they are in blackout and how to stay in contact. And we still are staying in contact and checking on each other. And we used to say that like the words "how are you" became a replacement to words "I love you," because when you are asking a person "how are you," it means that you care whether they are alive and whether they are well. And these words still are the most important and the most frequent probably in our communication with our colleagues and our loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Then the last one I'm taking, actually, this is actually not a question, but somebody from the head of communications for a Scottish charity based in Edinburgh. And she said it's called Harriet Hall. She didn't catch Kristina's email address, but if Kristina would like to meet up with a fellow comms professional in the city, she's given her email, and I will let you have it. It was really powerful, she says, to listen to your experiences, Kristina. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for sharing them with us so honestly. And I can only echo that, because it was a really, really wonderful presentation, and we're very grateful to you for sharing such intensely personal experiences with us. So thank you very much. And, you know, although the war is drastically impacting the people and the businesses, I'm so impressed that BIT continues to operate and support the country on the informational battlefront. And all Ukrainians have shown phenomenal bravery in the face of this unconscionable invasion, as have the incredible Beat team. So well done to all of your team. It seems to be a real story of David and Goliath, but so far it seems to be the Ukrainians who have shown themselves to be Goliath. I don't know whether you know, I'm sure you know it in Ukrainian, the story of David and Goliath, yes.
I do still wear David because David wins in this story.
Well, that's very true. That's very true indeed. And I actually very much look forward to the day of victory when I can see you in your national costume. I'll hold you to that. So, Kristina, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. You have our support, and we wish you every success. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining us. I just have a couple of very small things to say. We've got a brand new committee lined up for next year, some with old faces such as mine, but also some really exciting new ones lined up, which I'm sure you'll be interested in. They're on our website, CIPR International. Our next webinar is on December the 8th, and it'll be on the state of PR in MENA. We have some excellent speakers from the Middle East, so if you're interested in that part of the world, do watch out for details. I shall be talking ethics with the Crisis Comms Network on the 29th of November at 1 p.m, and I'd love to see you there. And finally, don't forget to log your CPD points. Okay, so that's it. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you also very, very much for the introduction to Kristina and for joining us today as well. And very interesting to hear about PROI. Kristina, thanks again. And thank you to you all.
Thank you.
See you very soon.